What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Mini TV Reviews. I am your host, Mo, and today, y'all, we're going to be discussing Lady in the Lake. This is Season 1, Episode 3, titled, I Was the First to See Her Dead, You Were the Last to See Her Alive. All right, y'all. I don't know if that's the exact title, but that's what I'm seeing on my end. So I hope y'all had a wonderful weekend. We are at the end of Sunday Fun Day, so it's time to be wrapping things up so we can get back to our work week. And for most of the kids, it's time for school to start back this upcoming week. So y'all better be getting back on them sleep schedules. So without further ado, let's go ahead, get into the synopsis real quick, and then we're going to get right into the episode. So the synopsis for this one is, reeling from what happened under her watch, Cleo begins forming a plan for her safety, and Maddie throws herself into the Durst investigation. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get into it. So we start this episode off back in 1948. Now, Cleo was having a dream about finding this suitcase, and where she is, it's really hard to describe because she's kind of running. She's in the city, right? And so there's like these clotheslines on either side of her, and she's just got this straight path all the way down. She ends up finding this suitcase in her dream, and she's got this suitcase, and she's running down this aisle, and then she sees this lamb right at the end of it. So then she wakes up because her parents are arguing about her daddy's gambling debts, right? And so it seems like he's gotten himself into an even deeper mess with Shell Gordon. Now, I didn't know that her dad was working for him as well, so this may be why her mama and her stepdaddy have so much disdain for Shell. All right, so he ended up owing Shell some money, and because he didn't want to get hurt, I don't know, Shell seems like he's got people that'll take care of what he needs to get taken care of if you owe him some things and you running from your debts. And so he ended up having to sell his trumpet to pay off his debt. And so, of course, this pisses Mama Merva off, because I'm pretty sure this is how Dad was making his living in the first place. And so she was like, look, if you don't get that trumpet back, I'm taking Cleo and we are out of here. So you better do whatever the hell you need to do to get that trumpet back. So Cleo ends up coming in after her mama storms out. And being the sweet little innocent girl that she is, who loves her daddy, y'all, she ends up giving her daddy the $10 that she has saved up. She had been saving this for quite some time, and so she tells him to use that to get his trumpet back. And he was like, man, you just giving this to me? And she was like, no, of course not. You're going to have to work for it. And so it was so cute, y'all, because he ended up stepping in the shower and, to get that whole round tone. We sound a lot better in the shower, right? So he introduced her, and she started to sing while he was playing an imaginary trumpet. And he actually did sound pretty much like a trumpet. It was a sweet performance, y'all. So cute. And so we come back to the present time, and Cleo is calling Reggie after hearing about Myrtle's attempted assassination on the news. And he just tells her, look, don't come in today. You need to lay low and keep quiet about it. Besides, I heard that she only got shot in the foot or something like that, right? And so she's clearly gotten in way over her head. She was not expecting this to happen on her first, I guess, side mission to try to go off onto the dark side of Shell Gordon and all his illegal stuff that he got going on. But I mean, it is what it is at this point. She's gonna have to find a way to get out of it. And so she can't even focus at work, y'all, because because y'all know she models in the windows, right? And so she was supposed to be sitting in the car. It's Christmas time, and so she's sitting next to an elf. There's some people dancing in the background in her rearview mirror. But when she looks in the rearview mirror, she initially sees cops. So clearly her focus is all over the place. She feel like somebody's always watching her, right? So then Maddie is, we hop over to Maddie, y'all. Maddie is really stepping into this new life because we see her with Judith, and y'all, they are going to go get Maddie's ears pierced right now, okay? They become besties, okay? So she ends up lying. She goes to I don't know what the name of the newspaper is, but y'all, she goes to this newspaper place to go talk to the reporter. His name is Bob Bauer, right? And she goes to try to, I guess, get a job with him. So she lies about having an interview scheduled with him so she can try to land her a new gig. And as she's walking up the steps, we can hear Cleo over the audio, and she's mentioning how Maddie's writing career is what ruined her life in the first place, but now she wants another shot to rewrite her new life at Cleo's expense. She should have just left Cleo alone in the fountain. She was fine at the bottom of the fountain. That's what she says. So she goes to see Bob. And like I said, this was the reporter that came to her house about Tessie's case. And so she's come to cash in her favor, in quotations, right? Because she feels like he owes her something in her eyes, but all he does is pay her dust and show her ass back to the door. So he ends up telling her, that she can't seriously think that she'd be able to come in here and strong arm him into giving her a job that she has no type of experience for, besides from probably attending a poetry class or something like that. I was like, misogynistic much, but I mean, or sexist much. Like, he doesn't think that a woman can do this type of reporting. But I mean, to a certain extent, what he was saying was true. She doesn't have any type of experience, at least not any in the most recent history. She was, I guess, an investigative journalist way back when, but that was before she got married to Milton. So you don't have any type of recent experience, ma'am. Get it out of here. Defeated by him, she decides to try to find a new way to get to where she needs to go. And so she ends up reaching out to Stefan. That's his name. Stefan. The aquarium shop guy who is currently being held in the psych unit. She ends up writing him, y'all, in hopes that they can use their connection, since she found Tessie, but he was the last person to see her alive. That's their connection that she wants to use to try to get to the bottom of the truth. So she ends up, after she sends off this letter, she gets the information, I guess, where he is. And so after she gets off the phone with him, she sends off the letter. She comes back down to the diner, and the guy that's at the front, she ends up making a deal with him to answer phone calls for her, take messages for her when she's not there, and she's going to pay him 30 cents, right? So somewhere else in the bottoms, a guy... the guy that went to go do the shooting, like who actually shot at Myrtle, I don't know his name, y'all, but the guy who did the shooting at Myrtle, he ended up getting squeezed that's not him, y'all. I'm sorry. It's later on that night. We see a guy and his son. They're just coming back from, I guess, the horse races, and he's holding the saddle, and he's giving his son, like instructions on how to properly carry stuff and how to care for him, when he ends up running into Officer Platt and his partner. And so they put the squeeze on him about who shot Myrtle, and he only tells them that he knows of a guy who went to the horse doctor to get a bullet removed recently, but we don't see him give any names, right? As he's giving them that information, we see Reggie go talk to Mr. Gordon to apologize about the hit not being done. It wasn't executed. Says he didn't want to involve nobody that would be able to tie Shell back to the shooting. But the guys he used were just stupid idiots, right? They didn't know what they were doing. That's not what they came there for. They don't do crime. They don't do those types of violent crimes. They just be, I guess, stealing jewelry and stuff like that. And so it seems like Reggie and Shell have a really close relationship, almost like a father-son type of relationship, because Reggie says that if he got jammed up, he'd rather go down by himself than involve Shell, and Shell returns the same sentiment, that he'd hate to see Reggie go down for any crime at all. So I don't know, y'all. We'll see. Cleo keeps having these weird dreams about lambs, but this time she's on a train, and it looks like that's probably her dad in the middle of the train. And her dad is begging for the train to be stopped because her son is dying in his arms. But when she goes to the front to try to get the driver to stop the train, Y'all, there's nobody there in the driver's seat. But when she looks up and she looks a little bit further out on the tracks, I'm going to assume that that's Tessie. It's a little white girl, okay? Look, Caucasian persuasion girl. And it looks like Tessie. And she's with a lamb. And I didn't know how to interpret this at first. But then I sat and I thought about it for a second. And I was just like, okay, the only way that I can interpret this is, aside from Cleo, she may feel like her son is like slipping away, like dying, and she has no control over it. And so that's why we didn't see anybody in the driver's seat, right? And so he's going to end up joining her dad, and that's why her dad was holding on to him. And Tessie soon, if an intervention doesn't happen, like yesterday. So she ends up waking up from this dream, and she looks right at her son, because her son is laying with her. And y'all, his eyes are as yellow as a crayon, like the yellow crayon. His eyes are that yellow. So he's getting worse. So she ends up calling her mom into the room, and her mom tells her that it's time to call the pastor for a spiritual intervention, because the doctors have done all that they can do, or at least that's what they tell her. So he comes over and he performs this cleansing prayer of some sorts. But afterwards, y'all, it seems like he's only there because he may want to charge her for future services that he may provide for her son. And so she was like, okay, well, how much is the Lord going to require me to pay him? Because he was like, oh, the Lord loves your son, endlessly. You just have to pay tithes. And she was like, okay, well, how much is the Lord charging? And he was like, the better question is, how much are you willing to sacrifice for your son's life? I was like, this janky ass, he going to hell. So she was like, look, I ain't got time for all that. You can see yourself out, Pastor. Thank you. And so out of possible solutions, y'all, she feeling so defeated. She ends up going to the doctor, and we hear her say that she went to the politician for deliverance. She went to the pimp for protection, and she went to the pastor for salvation. But in the end, she was on her own. There was nobody that was going to come to her rescue. And so as she's saying that, we see her cleaning up her daddy's bloody nose. And she tells him about this dream that she had. Y'all remember the one where she was running down the aisle with the clotheslines on both sides and she saw the lamb, right? And so as she's telling him this dream, he goes back to the dream book, because y'all remember that's what they were calling the dream interpretation / number book. And so with whatever dream you had, correlated a number. And so you would use that number to play it for possibly, like the playing your numbers. And so he ended up coming up with this specific number that he should play. And so he uses her last $10 that she gave him. So hopefully he can get his trumpet back and get back on his feet. So after she leaves the docks, y'all, she ends up going down to the club to blow some steam off. And she had the weight of the world on her shoulders, y'all. She went down there. And they were looking at her like, first off, Reggie was like, what are you doing here? Because you're not supposed to be here. I told you to lay low. And she was like, first off, I'm here because it's Dora's last week here, because Dora's finna get ready to go to Paris, because y'all know she's this big singer, right? So she's finna get ready to go to Paris. She just wanted to blow off some steam. So she comes down there and she starts to drink and dance. And for her, this is very much out of character. Usually she's real tight. Okay, she keeps everything cool as a cucumber, but she is letting loose, and people can tell that this is not like her. And so Slappy is on stage and he's telling jokes, and then he introduces Dora. When Dora comes to start singing, that's when she goes out on the stage to dance. Well, that's when she goes out on the floor and starts to dance. So Slappy is looking at her from behind the stage, and he gets concerned enough that he pulls her away and takes her home. So when they get home, she puts on the same record and she's telling him to dance with her and dance with her. And he's asking her the entire time, like, what's going on? What did Slappy say to you? Why are you acting like this? And she was like, I'll tell you what it is if you dance with me. So he starts to dance with her, and then all of a sudden she puts this other stipulation on it, and then she ends up going in the room telling him to leave her alone. And so he was like, look, you drunk, you need to sleep it off. I'll take the couch. So he can hear her crying back there. Y'all, she breaks down. And coming from a place where I have kids of my own, and even if you don't, or if you've got a loved one that you're really just close with, or you've got fur babies that you're really close with, and to know that an impending death is coming for them, there's nothing you can do. It's completely out of your control, along with other life situations that may be happening in certain circumstances. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just happening. Life is just lifing for you. She just breaks down. And I was like, oh, I feel you, girl. And so he tries to encourage her to dream and have hope. But she tells him, how can she even think about dreaming when she can't even breathe? Like, life is smothering her. I was like, ooh, that's deep. So she had her moment. He was just trying to comfort her. And, he really doesn't know what to say to her. And honestly, he doesn't even know how to feel for himself, because that's his son too. His son is dying, and I don't know if he's trying to offset that by telling jokes, or, trying to hide his feelings about how he really feels about it. But his son is dying too. So while she was dancing at the club, Officer Platt done snuck up the stairwell to break Maddie off real quick. And so she was like, oh, did I commit some type of crime, officer? Y'all, he came in there, hiked up her slip, and did his thing, and he was out of there as quick as he came, okay? So I just hope he don't end up getting jammed up over her. So she wakes up late the next morning and rushes to her son's school for some type of college expo. And he's clearly annoyed with her, and he is very, very heavy on the disrespect today. Now, he was out of pocket the last time they had an interaction, and I was like, girl, I'm not one for violence, okay? I'm not one for abusing the kids. But what you not finna do is talk to me crazy after it took me 9 months or 8 or 9 months to bake you, and then to bring you into this world with some additional hours of hard labor. You're not gonna do that. So he's real heavy on the disrespect today. He's cursing at her and telling her to get off his back. In the car, she tries to encourage him to be more active in the community. And then he was like, girl, you just passed the exit to the house. Where are we going? And she was like, we ain't going home. So she ends up pulling up to her house, and he was like, I'm not getting out. I want to go home. And she was like, all right, suit yourself. So she goes up to her place, and he looking around, and people getting arrested, and Teddy over there running the numbers with the number dude. And he was like, hell no, I got to get up out this car and get to a place of safety, right? So even if it ain't in my preference. And so he ends up going upstairs with her. And he is not at all impressed, y'all. Actually, he's very condescending, very demeaning towards her. And says that her place smells weird. She tried to spray it. He said it smells weird. It's trash all over the place. He just is so rude to her. And he gets even madder, y'all, when she calls his dad by his first name, Milton. Okay. And she's trying to plead her case to him that he doesn't have to be like his dad. Now, I don't know if it's just genetics, y'all, but, well, it ain't even that. He wears glasses just like Milton, kind of dresses like him, just a little mini Milton, right? And so she's trying to tell him, you don't have to be like him. He's boring. He's this, he's that. You need to be more You're a kid. You need to be more invigorated about life. And he ends up shouting at her because he insists, that she's wrong. And when he shouts at her, he pounds his fist on the countertop, and then out of nowhere, she just blurts out that Milton is not his dad. Like, that's not his bio dad. But lets her know that he already knew that, because he had read her diaries after she left. And he says, I read them the day before my bar mitzvah, and I didn't want dad to look at him because you just left the door unlocked to, I guess, wherever she hid him at. And so he had read them, and he didn't want his dad to read them and then just up and leave but she left instead. And so this is why he's got all this anger towards her. Now I'm saying that it's right, but in his eyes, he's a kid, and so he doesn't understand the full picture. But he just feels like his mom just up and left him for no reason. Okay. And so regardless of if Milton is his bio dad or not, he's been there for him this entire time. And so to him, that's his dad. And because he feels that way, he tells her to just take him home. So somewhere else in the bottom, y'all, the officers find the guy who shot Myrtle. That's the one that I was telling you about. I don't know his name. And he ends up giving up Cleo by describing her coat that Shell had gave her. Y'all know that pretty blue coat. So at work, Cleo is working when Officer Platt rolls up on her and lets her know that her name has been given as the drop-off driver in Myrtle's shooting. And initially she denies knowing anything, but he tells her that, hey, me and you both know that at the end of the day, you're a loose end on this. And regardless of how you feel about it, Shell can dispose of you whenever he feels like it, okay? So he was like, look, I need you to try to tell me whatever you can about it, and I can try to buy you some time in order for you to get your affairs in order, or come down to the station and give up everybody involved, and we'll offer you up some protection. And she was like, you, the police, offer me some protection? You talking about the same police that come down to the club to collect the fat envelope every week from Shell? Y'all police? And so y'all, Officer Platt looks at her and he was like, I did not know that, but thank you for the information and I'll look into it further. He didn't know that his partner was collecting that money, y'all. And so she ends up giving Officer Platt a description of the car that they drove to Myrtle's house and the plate number. So he's going to look into it. So when she goes home, she goes to talk to Teddy about playing the numbers. And it turns out, y'all, her dream that she had told her dad about, it paid off big for him. Her dad won a lot of money, but the problem was he ran off with the money without giving any of it back to the family. He just won the money and ran. And I don't know if that's because Shell was after him, and so he did this as a means of protection. But damn, you could have at least left some money on the table before you ran off. So she was like, look, Teddy, I need your help. I'm going to play the numbers this one last time, but I need all the information that you got on the other people that play numbers so I can make the best educated guess, right? And so she ends up going to Dora's, where Reggie ends up popping up, and she tells him, hey, the police are asking questions. So if I go down, you going to go down with me. And she tells Dora, now Dora's high as a kite, right? But Dora is coherent enough to understand that when she tells her to, hey, you need to pay attention. If something happens to me, Reggie did it. If I come up missing, it's his fault. And so when he asks her what she wants, she tells him that she wants the numbers Shell plays for the horses. And then she gonna be out of there. And so he was like, damn, you just gonna desert your family like that? And she was like, fool, what other choice do I have? Okay, let me do this. Give me the information that I need. And then me and you, we ain't gonna have to worry about seeing each other ever again. So we don't see what he does. Instead, we go over to Maddie. So Maddie gets a letter back from Stefan and goes back to Bob Bauer to see if he's willing to pick up the story in exchange for a financial advance, right? And so he agrees, and she uses that money to go pay her rent, where she runs into a cop that's trying to hit on Judy. But we already know that Judy is clearly more interested in Maddie. So she then goes to the diner and returns a call from Stefan's doctor at the psych unit, where he recommends that she actually come visit Stefan because he's asking, for her. Before she does, she meets with Bob again to go to the ME to see if there's any additional information that he may have about her autopsy, Tessie's autopsy report. And so it turns out that he does have additional information, and he tells them that someone tried to sexually assault her, but failed because she fought back. And because she fought back, he was able to find additional skin cells under her nails. Okay, but they can't ID who this attacker is at this point. So the ID is still unknown. And so the last scene that we see is of her walking into the psych unit to go talk to Stefan. And that's the way the episode ends, y'all. It was really good. I really did enjoy this episode. I'm curious to see what's going to happen to our girl Cleo. I wonder if she does correctly guess this number, or if she gets this number and hits the numbers really big, will she just escape town and try to make it look like she's dead? And hopefully she'll come back for her family, or at least leave some money on the table for Slappy and the boys. And hopefully, you know, that money can go to trying to help her son get better. I don't know, y'all, but we'll see. That's the way the episode ends. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about it. You can reach me at Me and You TV Reviews on Facebook and on Instagram. You can also reach me at My TV Reviews Podcast without the S on the end at gmail.com. Y'all, I love y'all. Okay, I've been struggling this week because it's been busy, but I'm also trying to find another platform for my podcast. So y'all just keep me in your prayers. All right, that's all I have for now. So until we meet over the airwaves again, I am Mo, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.